The movie begins in 1945 in a prison of war camp near Nagasaki, Japan. An air raid alarm sounds as Allied planes fly over Nagasaki. The soldiers are frantically running while the captured American soldiers call for freedom. A young Japanese soldier, Ichiro Yoshida, quickly breaks open the prison cells while other Japanese officers prepare for death. Lastly, he comes to a cell in a well. Logan is inside, watching as all the inhabitants of the camp run for their lives. Yoshida cuts the chains from Logan's cell and tells him to go. He also tells Logan to escape, but he refuses, telling him that those are B-29 planes and that there's no outrunning what's coming. He suggests Yoshida climb into the pit, as he'll stand a better chance of surviving the below-nuclear blast. Other Japanese officers call for him to join them as they kneel in line and commit seppuku, a suicide ritual. However, Yoshida can't bring himself to kill himself just yet. He watches the bomb fall from one of the planes and a massive fireball consumes Nagasaki. As he prepares to stab himself, Logan stops him and tells him to run. He makes up his mind and jumps into the pit, followed by Logan. Logan grabs a metal door and covers Yoshida with it. Seconds later, a wall of fire sweeps into the well, consuming and badly burning him. Yoshida survives the explosion with only a minor burn on his cheek. However, to his utter shock, he watches in horror as the third-degree burns on Logan's body quickly heal before his eyes due to his mutation ability. Logan awakens in the present day. He's in bed with Jean Grey, and she asks him what dream it was this time. He tells him it was Nagasaki. It seems that Logan has terrible dreams every night. The two cuddle, and he professes his undying love for her, swearing never to harm anyone else. Jean tells him it's too late, and Logan is horrified to see his claws embedded in her lower chest and fresh blood pouring out of her stomach, and he frantically tries to stop the blood. Logan screams in horror and wakes from his dream within a dream in a cave in the Yukon. Since Jean's death, Logan has lived a primitive and solitary lifestyle. It appears he lives in the woods like a wild animal and hasn't bathed or shaved. His small cave has only the bare necessities: empty whiskey bottles and an old radio which is losing power. Logan dresses and exits the cave, walking through the wilderness to the nearest town. Along the way, he sees a bear's claw mark on a tree and slashes across it with his claws. Moments later, he crosses paths with a grizzly bear who's friendly with Logan. Logan goes to the general store to buy batteries for his radio and watches as a group of drunk hunters prepares to go up into the mountains. One of the hunters nearly shoots his foot off as he goofs around with his hunting rifle, making him annoyed by their recklessness. Logan returns to his cave and goes to sleep. The cries of agony awaken him, and when he goes to investigate, he finds the hunter's campsite destroyed. He sees evidence of a bear attack, so he follows bear prints in the fresh mud and comes upon the same bear he'd seen earlier with an arrow sticking out of its back. The grizzly is still alive and in terrible pain. The bear looks at Logan with tear-filled eyes and forces him to put it out of its misery. He plucks the arrow from its hide and sniffs the tip coated in poison. Logan goes into the town and walks into the local bar. Unknowingly, a young red-haired Japanese woman observes her. Inside, he finds the sole surviving hunter recounting the attack. The grizzly killed his companions. He was lucky to escape with his life. Hearing this, he calls the bartender to buy the hunter a drink. The hunter asks who he is, while Logan ignores him and stabs the hunter's hand with the arrow, pinning it to a table. He is angry at the hunter and asks who shot the bear with illegally poisoned arrows. Since the poison was too low of a dose, the bear went on a rampage instead of dropping dead. The hunter denies using poison-tipped arrows, but Logan continues his accusations. He explains that it was the same one he pulled from the bear's back. The hunter's friends square off, ready to attack Logan, who's prepared to fight them all. However, Yukio persuades him to stop the red-haired Japanese woman carrying a samurai sword. She taunts the hunters and shows them her sword, telling them that it's hundreds of years old and is called danzan, which means the separator in Japanese because its purpose is to separate heads and limbs from its bodies. She slices the sword through the air, nearly killing the other hunters, frightening them all, and leaves, telling Logan that she parked her car in the back. Logan leaves with her and climbs into her rental car. As they leave, they hear police car sirens. Logan asks who she is and why she has been looking for him. She explains that she has been sent by her employer, Master Yoshida, to give him the sword, saying that it belongs to him and he's paying his debts. She also tells him that Master Yoshida is dying. He wishes to speak with Logan before he dies and personally thank him for saving his life 70 years earlier. Logan is reluctant to go to Tokyo but can't ignore this personal obligation. Logan tells her to stop, and Yukio tells him he is a soldier who wants what all soldiers want, an honorable death that will end his pain. A police car drives by, and he reluctantly agrees to go to Japan for one day to say goodbye and return immediately. After going through the blast, Yukio asks Logan if he is in pain. Logan tells him that he always hurts. Yoshida asks him how old he is, and he gives a vague answer about how it has been stretched out and has been through many wars. On their flight to Tokyo, Logan is uncomfortable during the flight, and he becomes more uneasy as the plane experiences turbulence. He gets a flashback of him and Yoshida in the well. Yoshida is called Logan Kuzubiri, which means monster in Japanese. He wakes from his nap, and Yukio explains that she has a gift of second sight or the ability to see death. As they arrive in Tokyo, Yukio tells him that Yoshida helped rebuild Tokyo after the war, and the family business is Japan's most prominent. They arrive at Yoshida's palatial residence, and he sees that many of the guards have guns and inquires about them. Yukio informs him that there have been many attacks, attempted kidnappings, and attempted assassinations by the Japanese mob, the Yakuza. Logan is turned away by Yoshida's grieving granddaughter, Mariko. They insist that his caveman-like state could prove infectious to the elderly and dying Yoshida. He is unwillingly thrown into a bathtub to be cleaned and shaved until he is less offensive and more presentable. Finally, Logan is allowed to speak to Yoshida, who presents Logan with the same sword he bestowed on him 70 years earlier. He also reveals his other intentions of bringing him to Japan to Logan. He believes his cutting-edge company has the technology to present him with a unique opportunity. They can make Logan mortal and will transfer his life-giving mutation into his own body. Logan is upset by Yoshida's request and argues that no one should want his power. As he begs Yukio to fly him home, he observes Shinjin, Yoshida's son and Mariko's father, coldly and angrily slapping his troubled daughter. Heartbroken, Mariko aims to throw herself off the nearest cliff, but is saved by Logan, injuring Shinjin. Yukio persuades Logan to stick around for another day or two and finds a room for to stay. Later, Shingen visits his father, Yoshida, who tells him he's not fit to run the Yoshida company. As for the past few years, he has brought a company close to ruin, so he wants Mariko to be his successor when he dies. He laughs at this and says that he won't let it happen. As he sleeps, Logan dreams of Jean, who climbs into bed with him and kisses him. But he soon realizes that it's a dream. Then Jean becomes Yoshida's oncologist, Dr. Green. Her snake-like tongue presses into Logan's throat and deposits something, causing a green vapor to flow from his mouth. He struggles and takes out his clothes to threaten the invader. Suddenly, he hears a commotion outside his room, and he exits to find paramedics running through the estate. Seconds later, they cart Yoshida's dead body to the entrance. Yukio appears, crying, and tells him that he didn't foresee Yoshida's death. Days later, they held Yoshida's funeral in the center of Tokyo. Logan arrives with Yukio, observes the crowd closely, and goes through the funeral procession. Shinjin is especially disgusted with Logan and tells him to go home. Logan and Yukio enter the funeral and stand at the back of the crowd. On a roof, a lone archer watches the ceremony and quietly whispers to the spirit of Yoshida, who pledges his life to protect Mariko. Mariko is ushered to the front of the funeral by a pair of traditionally dressed priests. Logan notices the Yazuka markings heavily tattooed on the priest's arms. As Logan senses something's wrong, he impulsively bursts through the crowd, grabbing Mariko and telling her that something's not right there. This angers Shinjin, Mariko, and Mariko's fiancé Noburo. He spots a gun-like shape under one of the priest's robes and within seconds draws guns, and Logan gets shot in the chest. He experiences more devastating pain than usual. Then all the priests shed their robes, revealing Yakuza tattoos and clothing. Later, the Yakuza grab Mariko and flees the funeral. While Logan chases after them, he's shot multiple times and struggles significantly to regain his stamina. Unfortunately, his healing ability seems to be severely impaired. Arrows come soaring into the funeral, laying out dozens of Yakuza members. The archer Harada takes out many Yakuza and chases after Logan and Mariko as they flee the funeral temple. Yukio tries to follow but is discouraged by Shingen. While the Yakuza chases them down, Logan takes Mariko deep into the city, and Harada shoots down anyone who follows them. Mariko tries to dismiss him from accompanying her, but he follows. They board a bullet train, and he asks where Mariko heads and answers that her family has a home at the end of the line. Logan goes into the train's bathroom, examines the wounds on his chest, and sees that they aren't healing. He shakily exits the bathroom and is met by 4 Yakuza soldiers who shoot and stab him. He retaliates, killing 2 men and ripping a hole in the side of the train. They suck out the remaining soldiers onto the side of the train, along with him, and the 3 battle one another at bullet train speed. He defeats the Yakuza and returns to his seat on the train. He infers that if Yakuza were on the train, some would be waiting for them at their destination. Mariko finally agrees, and the two exit the train well ahead of their destination. The pair walk through the city, searching for a safe place familiar to Mariko. However, Logan stops her and explains that they need to find a place to stay where nobody will look for her. He finds a seedy-looking hotel and drags her inside. It's a love hotel, and he thinks it's perfect because it's the last place the Yakuza would look for them, so they pick a room and head upstairs. While Mariko sleeps, Logan stands to watch on the balcony. He dreams of Jean, who tells her to let go and be with her. A Yakuza member sneaks up behind him and pushes him off the building, where other Yakuza members are torturing him. Mariko awakens and runs to his aid, kills the Yakuza members, and Logan passes out. Logan awakens in a veterinarian's office, and the hotel's manager's grandson is stitching up his wounds. Mariko says he's a veterinary student for large animals. The veterinarian nervously backs away from him, who tries to thank him and gestures to the fresh slashes on his face and arms caused by Logan while stitching him. He is stitched up and in better form than the night before, but still far from immortal. He tells her that Yashida's oncologist, the blonde doctor, did that to him. Meanwhile, Dr. Green moves through a seedy back alley. Her blonde hair draws catcalls from middle-aged perverts who expect her to be a prostitute. She takes one by the collar and kisses him, and he passes out. She continues through the alley and finds Harada impatiently waiting for her. She's 2 hours late and he's angry, so she demands to know where Mariko and Logan are. Harada is still searching, but Mariko hasn't appeared in her usual spots. Green reveals to him that she's a mutant named Viper, telling him to find them before the Yakuza does. Mariko and Logan make their way to Yashida's long-forgotten home in Nagasaki. She doesn't expect anyone to follow them there because the house is old and in disrepair. They buy groceries and she cooks for Logan. Logan pleads for Mariko about what happened the other night that caused her father to slap her. She tells him that she was trying to warn her father that in 3 days, her grandfather's will is to be read, which will name her, not her father, as the new head of the Yashida Corporation. The Yakuza are desperate to kidnap her, which will mean a considerable ransom. Mariko also tells him that her engagement with Noburo is an arranged marriage made by her father. For robust and political reasons, she must go through with it. She also explains about the solitary archer Harada, who she grew up with and has wanted to marry since she was 12. The following morning, Yukio calls Mariko and pleads to know where she and Logan are hiding. Mariko refuses to say, despite her closeness to Yukio, but promises that Logan is being good and taking care of her. On the other hand, Logan helps some locals chop the fallen tree on the road. They go for a walk, and Logan sees something familiar in the distance. It's the location of the prison camp and the well in which he saved Yashida. He remembers the day that Yashida gives him the sword as a sign of thanks for saving him. But he refuses and tells him to keep it safe, and someday he will come and get it. They go out of the well and see the devastating result of the atomic bomb. At that moment, Logan tells Mariko that he met Mariko's grandfather and where they hid from the bomb. Mariko then shares her grandfather saying that that place is proof that everything in the world finds peace eventually. She also tells him that maybe Logan can recover, just like her grandfather. She asks him who Jean is, as Logan tends to repeat that name in his sleep, but he ignores this. The two return home and eventually make love. Logan finally explains his relationship with Jean, how he loved her, and why he killed her. The following morning, Logan wakes and can't find Mariko anywhere. He hears her screaming outside. The Yakuza have seen them and kidnapped Mariko. They throw her into their car, and he runs after them. One of the soldiers shoots him, slowing him down, but he manages to pull him from the vehicle. He presses the man to the ground and tortures information of Mariko's whereabouts out of him, who tells him that it was Noburo, Mariko's fiancé, who hired them. Yukio arrives, following the Yakuza to Nagasaki, and the pair go after Noburo. On the way, she tells Logan that she's had a vision in a dream that showed her he's severely injured and bleeding to death. She tells him that she has seen him die with his own heart in his hand. Logan tells her that many have tried to kill him and that he's still around. They find Noburo in his apartment with a pair of prostitutes. Logan threatens him, who admits that he and Shingen agreed to kill Mariko and that Shingen has her now. He throws Noburo off a balcony and into a swimming pool. After that, Yukio and Logan head back to Tokyo. Mariko arrives at the Yashida estate, where her father is waiting for her. Shingen explains that he has worked his entire life to take over the Yashida Corporation once the elderly Yashida dies. When he discovered that Mariko would be inheriting the corporation, he conspired with the Yakuza by way of her fiancé Noburo to have her killed before the will gets read. Had Logan not intervened on the night of her grandfather's death and allowed Mariko to jump to her death, Shinjin would have inherited the company immediately. However, he and his small army of Yakuza will now find a way to kill her without getting their hands dirty. Suddenly, black-suited ninjas led by Harada and Viper descend upon the compound and secretly dispatch the Yakuza. The ninjas corner Shinjin, and Viper explains that there are greater forces at work than the Yakuza and him. She stabs him in the neck with a pen she just poisoned, severely disfiguring him, and he falls into a pool. Viper, Harada, and his men take Mariko and leave. Logan and Yukio arrive and find evidence of the massacre. Then, they make their way into Yashida's private room filled with high-tech medical equipment and X-ray scanners. Yukio later finds Mariko's whereabouts in a Yashida facility. Logan climbs onto the bed, guides the X-ray over his body, and discovers a metallic parasite attached to his heart, implanted by Viper days earlier. The device has impaired his healing ability. Against Yukio's pleas, he cuts open his chest with one of his claws and reaches for his heart. Shingen, who had survived Viper's scathing attack, appears dressed in traditional samurai armor. He seeks to kill Logan and swings his sword at him. Yukio saves Logan and battles Shinjin while Logan reaches further into his chest. Ultimately, Logan manages to grab the parasite but loses consciousness. He lays on the bed with a giant open wound on his abdomen. Shinjin beats Yukio, knocking her sword away from her, and aims to kill her when Logan's clawed hand suddenly appears, blocking the blow. Logan has finally healed and gets to his feet to go after Shingen. Shinjin stabs his body with multiple swords but can't kill him. He gets close to him but decides to let him live, saying he should live knowing he tried to kill his daughter. Shinjin runs after him as he walks away, running his sword through him. Logan stabs him in the throat, killing him instantly. Logan returns to Yashida's room and helps Yukio up. She then discourages him from going to the facility, telling him it's a trap. She discovers strange robotic blueprints strewn about the room while Logan heads to the Yashida facility. The facility is high in the mountains. Logan drives into the village and Harada appears and tells him to leave. He refuses, so Harada slashes at him and watches in disbelief as his fresh wound heals. Harada orders his men to kill him. All at once, arrows attached to ropes come in from the rooftops, impaling him dozens of times. Having dipped his arrows into Viper's venom, Harada launches them at Logan, eventually knocking him out. Logan awakens inside the facility, strapped into a chair, forcing his hands away from his body, unable to move. Viper appears and congratulates Logan on removing her parasite. Logan hears Mariko screaming his name and sees a massive metallic mechanical samurai sitting to his left. To his shock, the samurai gets to his feet and walks over to Logan. Because Viper is obsessed with Wolverine's adamantium skeleton, he has been saving adamantium for years. He built this suit of armor out of the material, and with it, no one could kill Wolverine. As Logan extends his claws, he clasps on the restraints preventing him from retracting his claws. He then watches in horror as the giant adamantium samurai approaches him, draws an 8-foot-long flaming sword, and cuts his claws off. Mariko tricks Harada and stabs him. She runs to Logan's side and distracts the samurai, who slashes Logan's restraints open, allowing him to escape. Yukio, who had followed Logan, arrives at the facility's back door and sneaks inside. She battles Viper while Logan deflects blows from the samurai. The samurai cuts the claws off one of Wolverine's hands, revealing bone underneath the adamantium. Logan battles the samurai, one-handed wrestles its sword away from it and slashes the samurai's helmet off. The out-of-control mechanical samurai slashes open the facility's side and pushes him through the hole. He dangles hundreds of feet over the ground and hastily climbs back into the facility. Meanwhile, Yukio is battling Viper and losing. Harada makes a last effort at redemption, killing Viper and himself. Suddenly, the samurai's sword comes swooping over Logan's head, cutting his other claws clean off, revealing that the pilot of the mechanical samurai is Yashida. Yashida explains that his life's goal since meeting Logan was to prolong his life at whatever cost. When Logan refuses to go through the procedure at his estate, he fakes his death with the assistance of Viper. After that, he kidnaps Mariko, knowing that it will lead Logan to him. Yashida grabs Logan's wrists and 6 drills come out of the suit's forearms. The needles drill into his bone claws, straight into the marrow. Within seconds, he grows old, and Yashida becomes young again. He laughs as he sucks the life from him. Suddenly, one of Logan's claws comes flying through the air and lands in Yashida's skull. Mariko confronts her grandfather and stabs him in the head again. She frees Logan from the suit's drills, his life slowly returns, and his bone claws instantly grow back. Logan stabs Yashida and pushes him out of the building. Yukio, who had survived her encounter with the Viper, joins Logan on an airport runway. Meanwhile, Mariko has inherited her grandfather's corporation. Mariko kisses Logan, but the two agree they have separate paths to follow. Logan boards the plane and Yukio follows. She tells Logan to consider her his bodyguard and asks him where he would like to go, and he gives her an indefinite response. 2 years later, Logan is walking through the airport security checkpoint. Suddenly, metal objects begin to float. He immediately ejects his claws and turns around to see Magneto behind him. Magneto freezes him and tells him he hasn't come alone. He sees that everybody's frozen, including Charles Xavier in his wheelchair. The movie ends with Logan seeing Xavier alive. Thanks for watching. Kindly subscribe to my channel to get notified when we post the next recap. See you next time.